This video is our introduction to coral reefs. I'm pretty tired right now, so sorry if I sound like Squidward. So you've all heard of coral before, but do you really know what it is?
Barely, but
You might have thought that coral were like rocks, but they're actually living organisms. And they're not even plants. They're animals without backbones, or invertebrates. There's two different types of coral. Coral that build reefs, called hermatypic, and coral that live solitary or on their own, ahermatypic. Corals are actually cousins to jellyfish and anemones, part of the Cnidarian family. Coral is found all over the world, in tropical, temperate, and polar waters. However, the only place you'll find coral reefs are in tropical waters. How are these reefs built? The animal portion of a reef is called the polyp. The polyp absorbs the calcium carbonate out of the water and uses it to build the reef. Corals build three different types of reefs: fringing, barrier, and atoll reefs. Fringing reefs grow close to the shore. Barrier reefs are also close to the shore, but are separated by a lagoon. Atoll reefs are a ring of coral that surround a lagoon that usually grow on underwater mountains or volcanoes. So, as mentioned earlier, coral, anemones, and jellyfish are all cnidarians. Cnidarians are soft-bodied animals that eat other animals, making them carnivorous. They eat other animals using stinging tentacles arranged in a circle around their mouths. Cnidarians have radial body symmetry, so any angle you cut through their body will create a symmetrical line. They also have specialized tissues. In cnidarians, respiration and waste removal takes place through the walls of the body, so they don't breathe through lungs and a mouth like us. Their nervous system is called a nerve net system. They have a network of neurons, but no brain. Some have a hydrostatic skeleton, which is, instead of skeletons of bones like us, they have cavities or empty tubes surrounded by muscles. Some cnidarians can use jet propulsion to travel through the water, like jellyfish. Cnidarians can spend parts of their life cycles in two different stages. One stage is the polyp, which is when they're attached to the sea floor. The other stage is medusa, which is when they're a free-swimming structure. The gastrovascular cavity is where food is broken down, but the food gets digested inside the cells, or intracellularly. Coral polyps build a calcium carbonate cup called a corallite to live in. Coral also has stinging cells called nematocysts. Nematocysts are stinging cells that help coral catch food, and also help in protection. When the cells get stimulated, a sharp barb is released. The barb will fire and catch food, and then pull it back towards the mouth. Here's a cnidarian using its tentacles to pull food towards its mouth. Now watch how fast they can release their barbs. Oh my god. Goodness gracious. Oh, okay, I can't do this anymore.
oh, look at that! I've been impaled.
Okay, one more. This will show us how quickly the barbs are fired, and in slow motion you can actually see the venom being released. So it takes an average of 11 milliseconds for a barb to be fired. And there you can see the venom being released. Let's see that again. Coral and zooxanthellae have a mutualistic symbiotic relationship, meaning they both benefit. Zooxanthellae is an algae that lives in the skin of coral. The coral provides protection, and the zooxanthellae provides food and color.
This zooxanthellae uses sunlight and the coral's waste carbon dioxide to create oxygen and sugars, which is coral food. And this is the #1 mutualistic symbiotic relationship that makes coral reefs possible. The coral gets about 80% of its food from the zooxanthellae's waste, and the zooxanthellae gets fed and gets a place to live. Neither can survive for long without the other.
Coral are picky organisms. They need very specific habitats. They like temperatures between 73 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, depths less than 80 feet to 230 feet, normal salinity levels of 35 parts per thousand. The zooxanthellae need light to photosynthesize and survive. Too much sedimentation can cover the zooxanthellae and prevent them from photosynthesizing. The coral will also die if they're exposed to air for too long. Coral like areas with lots of waves. They're strong enough to withstand the pressure, and the fresh water brings more food and oxygen. The waves also remove silt, allowing the zooxanthellae to photosynthesize. The coral can reproduce both asexually and sexually. Asexual reproduction in corals is called budding. A baby polyp will begin to grow off of an adult. When it's ready to live on its own, it will detach. This new polyp can't create its own colony, but it can help the original colony grow bigger. Sexual reproduction is called spawning. Spawning requires external fertilization and can start a new colony. External fertilization is when the sperm and eggs are released into the water. The sperm fertilizes the egg in the water, and that fertilized egg is now called a planula. The planula swims until it finds a good place to live. Because corals are very sensitive, they are rapidly dying. People are trying to help by creating artificial reefs, giving the corals a new choice of where to live. Some arguments for artificial reefs are that they can help build or rebuild a reef, and can then increase fish populations by making new habitats. Some arguments against artificial reefs are that they're movable and not stable enough. Another argument is that chemical leaking and leaching will occur in the ocean from the artificial reefs. Some even argue that they don't increase fish populations, but move fish populations to a new location, making them easier to catch.
And Mama, I love you. P.O.P. All the time. Right, these all good pimp squad, baby, for life.